the issue is, ladies and gentlemen, that stores often get into trouble, into financial trouble because of cash flow. And often the first port of call to look at is how much stock exists and how, of course, how old it is. So I think in line with that, many a time I'm looking at pharmacies and working with clients, and the most undervalued or one of the most undervalued positions is in fact the stock controller. But the stock controller in fact has a lot of control over your investment. They're investing your dollars, and it's up to them ultimately to be controlling your return on investment. So I think a large amount of importance needs to be placed on that role. If we just look at what they often do in relation to bulk buy deals, they're taking the process away from the automation of the point of sale system. And every time someone has to be involved in a manual process, the costs increase. So whatever discount you may be getting, consider that every time the process is touched by an individual, that discount is diminished. Add to that the cost of holding and handling the extra stock. Every time it's received, it's got to be unpacked and put somewhere, albeit in the storeroom where the customers can't see it. And then there is the opportunity cost of, is that the best use of your space, albeit in the front of shop, and or is it the best use of your money, and how long will it take to get a return on that money? Quite often you'll then find that this excess stock leads to dead stock, because many of these retail categories can have a long tail on them. So you buy 24 or 50 items and you sell the first 10 or 15, and then the balance takes a long time to sell. So they can be very old in the system, and the question then becomes, how often are you looking at the stock not sold greater than 6 months, as an example? For many of you, I'd suggest you start at 12 months and then work into a 6-month period and keep refining the process, because it's this excess stock that's not moving that equals your cash on the shelves. Remember, suppliers want their payments within 30 days or thereabouts, so you've paid for the stock, and if it hasn't been sold in 6 months, that's your cash that's sitting on the shelves. So then the question must be asked, by not doing the individual buyers, what happens when stockouts occur? And I'd put it to you, and Hilary has presented on this topic many times before, that you actually end up in lost sales. You can't actually identify them because the customer comes in, can't find what they're looking for and leaves, but stockouts in high moving lines will lead to lost sales. If we just look at a bulk buy example, if we have a product that costs $10, you get a discount of 10%, which means that your price becomes $9 per item. But to get that bulk buy, you've got to buy 24, and so you have an immediate saving of $24. Okay, simple math. If you overlay that over the sale equation, if the sale price doesn't change and it's always $15, originally your purchase price was $10 in the left-hand column, it reduces to $9 in the right-hand column. Your gross profit therefore goes up by $1, from $5 to $6 if you take up the bulk buy. The margin percent, for those who follow the percent, increases as well, and you get the additional dollar per item profit. But what happens if you're waiting for that bulk buy and you didn't buy and you didn't invoke everyday purchasing where you can, and you lost one sale? You actually lose $5 of gross profit in the pursuit of saving $1 per item. And the message there is that in what the wholesalers within this industry allow us to do in general is buy every day. Now, there will be certain lines where you should be doing that, but this bulk buy should not be done in the pursuit of discount. The question therefore becomes, how much should I hold? There's a really fine line between too much, where you have a cluttered environment and you can't find anything, and I often reflect on the example of the Myer stock take sale. I don't go anymore because I can never find what I'm looking for, and when you walk in there, it appears that there's just stuff everywhere. I often see that in pharmacy, where you walk in a pharmacy, it's cluttered at the front, lots of value or sale signs at the front, and it's invariably the stock that hasn't sold for many, many months. It therefore obscures the profitable categories in pharmacy and Myer for that matter. And you end up with this classic dead stock and out of date stock because the customer can't find the simple things that they're looking for. The opposing position, of course, is where you have too little stock. And we see this time and time again with pharmacies that are in financial strain and they can't afford to replenish the shelves. And it does look like they're not in the business or going out of business. Massive stock outs, excessively high stock turns, and high wage costs result because you're constantly ordering, reordering, receipting, unpacking, putting it on the shelves. So there's a really fine balance here, but the balance begins with where I started talking about the stock controller role, looking at the stock not sold for 6 or 12 months, working through it, getting rid of it, donating it or selling it out for costs, and replenishing it with the stock that does sell. And the data for that is clearly in two areas. One is the dispensary system and the other one is the point of sale system. And the combination of what your customers are coming to you for and what they're buying is in the data in those systems. If you don't do it, you end up with a position similar to this, where you can see in the middle of the screen enormous amounts of hair colour, hair care, and the like. On the right-hand side, we have gift packs of the same type of products. And I can tell you now, those products there will be lucky to be turning once a year. So I've got a client here, that's a real-life example, that has an enormous amount of money tied up in that retail area, in the front shop, not making a dollar. And so why would you invest $1 to make less than $1 would be my argument. If we just turn to some data where some pharmacy did make change, we generally break the categories down into the medicines area, other high engagement departments, and the commodity or open selling type of products. You can see in the red table at the top of the page that the sales in the medicines, 293, good margin of 45%, making a nice net profit of 50,000. That's after expenses. Being made out of a stock investment of 31,800. Other high engagement lines, 424,000 in sales off a stock investment of 80,000. A commodity and open seller, 345,000 in sales, which is nothing to be mocked, but off a $98,500 stock investment, and making a loss because of you can see the disproportionately high amount of space attributed to those categories. So what this client did was change their space and stock allocations. You can see the medicines area, the space actually increased, didn't quite double, but it increased to 75 lineal metres. The stock investment also increased to 37,500 and the sales went up. Not only that, did the margin go up as well because they focused on the bundle size and the product mix. The other high engagement lines, the space increased as well with an actual decrease in the stock investment, and sales increased, as did the margin. They also got the margin to increase in the commodity and open seller lines. They did this through product mix, but they have overall decreased their stock investment. So they've said there's a lot of categories here that people aren't coming to us for. We don't need to hold the stock, and we'll trim those down. So in doing so, they've trimmed the space down to 164 lineal metres. They're making less sales, absolutely, but the margin is more acceptable. Sure, it's still making a loss, but if you have a look at the total, overall the profit through the retail sector is 8 times higher than what it was on the red table. The other interesting point is the second column from the right, the lineal metres. You'll see that the red table started at 497 lineal metres, and after adjusting, they finished at 443 lineal metres. The net outcome of that, of course, is that they've opened up the traffic flow. The point that Hilary was talking about before, map your traffic flow in your own pharmacy and see what happens. You can actually open up, sell more and make more money. Make more profit, I should say. I don't have the numbers for you today, but I can share with you, this is, in this example, it's gone from red to blue, for want of a better word, following the table. Often pharmacies will make change, and the changes won't result in such a positive outcome. So my comment to you is that if you embark on a process of change by looking at the data and making changes, whether it's to stock investment or to space investment, you must review and review again, make change, review, make change, because some changes that you make will invoke a negative outcome, and the sooner you jump on that and make change again is important to avoid the negative impact. But the importance of the medicines area and the high engagement departments is paramount, and that's where the stock and the space investment must be made.